Alright, hello everyone. My name is Dixuan. I am a PhD student at Purdue University. I'm currently studying virtual reality. Today I'm going to be presenting my research. The title is Interacting with Virtual Instructors, the Effect of Gender in Years of Study on the Perception of In-Game Instructors. So, the current problem and the purpose of the research is currently there is a strong development of serious games, and then there are a lot of serious games used for online instructions in order to have a better teaching on students. But currently, it is really unclear whether learners' demographics affect in-game immersion and interaction with virtual instructors. Although game-based learning has been found to provide an immersive experience, it remains unknown how learners perceive virtual instructors and how their perceptions are associated with their gender or previous learning experiences. And in this case, for demographics, we are focusing majorly on learners' learning experience and also gender, which are two of the most important elements of the different students. So as for a topic to research on, we chose Japanese language learning because currently there is a huge rise in the number of students learning Japanese as their foreign language, and it is a very common area for game developers to develop serious games on. Such as there is a game called Christos. On the left there is a screenshot. This is a third-person 3D role-playing game. You are free to control a character of your own, and you get to talk to different non-important characters. And then by making conversations, you will be able to learn some basic Japanese. Another game is called Influent. Here is a screenshot on the right. This is a vocabulary learning game. This is a first-person game. You get to pick up objects in a certain area and you can learn the vocab of that object. There are other games that are not made for serious games, but they are used for basic learning, such as Pokemon, because the vocab and grammar in Pokemon are very basic and at a beginner level. There are a lot of students who are using this type of games. They can both fulfill their entertainment requirements and also learn some basic knowledge. All these different examples inspired us into creating our own Japanese learning game, and this has formed our basic methodology. So we developed our own 3D Japanese role-playing game. The game name is called Dixuan Cui. This is also a 3D Japanese role-playing game. You are controlling this major character called Takeru. The story is that you're controlling this character. Takeru wants to film a documentary video, and he has to interview different people, such as his professor, his students, and also his friends. So we're focusing majorly on character interaction in this game, and the major mechanic for this game is the conversation system. So you get to talk with all the different individual characters, all 5 of them. And during the conversations, there are times that you have to make selections. The main purpose of using this game is to let the students practice casual form and polite form. So in Japanese, when you're facing people who are above your level, you will need to use polite form. If you're facing towards somebody at the same level as you or somebody who is at a lower level, you will need to use casual form. So this conversation dialogues are mainly focusing on students on practicing that part. So over here on the leftmost screenshot, you can see that you're trying to make a selection when you're talking to your professor. You get to choose the polite form or the casual form. If you selected the selection incorrectly, she will show you an angry facial emotion response. And this is saying, okay, this is not the correct one. Try to do it better next time. And that makes up the major part of the mechanic. So now for the experiment, we recruited participants that are at 200, 300 levels of Japanese. By this, we mean the 200, 300 level of Japanese courses they're taking right now. And their age is in between 18 to 35 years old. And then we have 19 male students and 65 female students. The progress is that after we recruited them, we invite them to our computer lab and we let all of them to play the game. After they play through the game, they will be asked to finish out the post questionnaire, and then after that, they will be thanked and excused. They will be informed with the study information and demographics questionnaire before they play the game. and all of our data are analyzed through IBM SPSS version 33. And as for the experiment, the way we get our data is throughout this questionnaire. So this questionnaire, we are focusing on 5 different concepts, which are all sort of variables. There are game immersion, attentiveness to in-game characters, realism of character reactions, realism of character appearance, and also interactions with characters. And as for our data analysis, we have found significances in some of the variables. We found significance in game immersion, realism of virtual character appearance, and also interaction with virtual characters. No significances were found for realism of virtual character appearance or attentiveness to in-game virtual characters. So we have separated our samples into 4 different groups. There are students who have studied Japanese for less than a year. There are students who have studied Japanese for 1 to 2 years. There are students who have studied for 2 to 3 years, and there are students who have studied for more than 3 years. And as for results, starting with the game immersion, we have participants who have studied Japanese for less than 1 year. They perform significantly more immersed into the game than those who have studied that more than 3 years. So from the previous research, there is a relationship demonstrated in between optimal challenge and positive engagement, saying that players are more likely to enter into a flow state when the game is more challenging. So therefore, beginner students who face greater challenges were more engaged in the gameplay than their more advanced counterparts. The second result is that realism in virtual characters' appearances. Participants who have studied Japanese for less than 1 year perceive the virtual characters to be significantly more realistic than those who have studied Japanese for 1 to 2 years. There are previous studies who have found similar results. This research done by Chen and Carnes illustrated that immersive experience can help to negate other usability issues once that experience has been achieved. As long as there are no inconsistencies within the environment, players are more likely to become immersed and notice less of the surrounding environments. So this result is suggesting that immersion and realism are partially interwoven. Another research done by Koginara and McDonald revealed that the level of realism in animation affects the virtual character's perceived appeal. So in this case, we have more users providing positive feedback for more realistic assets. Because the students who have studied less than a year, they're more immersed in the game, they felt virtual characters' appearances are more realistic, and they noticed less differences for the surrounding environment. And then the last result was on virtual characters' interaction. Participants who have studied Japanese for more than 3 years felt they had significantly less interaction with the virtual characters than those who have studied Japanese for less than 2 years. So the first group, 3 years students, they had higher expectations for the interactions with virtual characters. More advanced students tend to expect to see something that's more than basic content. So it can be inferred that the more advanced students, they kind of failed to meet their expectations. So this also caused a decrease in tension and then resulted into less interaction between them and the in-game virtual characters. There are further studies needed in order to confirm this result is correct. So now we finished the years of learning data analysis. We also analyzed the data for gender. Here we have found significances in realism of virtual character appearance, game immersion, and also attentiveness to in-game virtual characters. We did not find any significances in realism of virtual character reactions or interaction with virtual characters. So as for results, first we have females felt significantly more immersed in the game than the males. There are also similar results in previous studies. So from Nikovic's research on computer-mediated communications, it was found that women tend to be more engaged in watching than in doing. This provides a reasonable explanation for the study's results because this game is more like into a storytelling game. Students are spending more time into reading than actually operating the game. If this was a action-based game that includes a lot of like different gameplay using controls, we believe that males would have a better result than the females. Our second result is that females pay significantly more attention to the in-game virtual characters than males. From the same theory, it is also likely that the females become more engaged in playing the game and thus were more attuned into the in-game virtual characters. Our third result is that females perceive the virtual characters to be significantly more realistic than the males did. Previous research done by Bill Arcade supported this conclusion. They identified a major difference in between females and males in their perception of realism in media stories. Females are perceiving the stories more realistic than males. And here we have our conclusion. The number of years participants spent learning the Japanese language significantly impacts the variable of realism in virtual characters' appearances, game immersion, and virtual character interactions. Participants' experience with language learning can affect their awareness of the realism in virtual characters, their levels of game immersion, and their interactions with virtual characters. And also, gender significantly influences self-reported ratings of realism for virtual characters' appearances, game immersion, and attentiveness to in-game virtual characters. So we did find significant effects from both participants' learning experience and also gender. In the end, we do want to mention some of our limitations and our thoughts regarding our future work. Some of our limitations, we have other in-game elements that can be potential distracting factors for the study, such as the surrounding environments and the excessive 3D models. We're also lacking an eye-tracking device because an eye-tracking device can provide us more precise results regarding attentiveness to virtual characters. And the vast majority of the sample was female because we had more female students learning Japanese than male students. So with those limitations in mind, there are several thoughts regarding the future work. First thing is that we want to expand the study to different domains of virtual instructions. We value this research to be really meaningful for Japanese learning, and we want to apply it to other different areas as well. Not only to foreign language learning, but also other areas that include online learning. Our second thought is that we want to see more serious game elements that are related to game immersion. We want to see game developers fighting more creative content for the serious game so we can work on more research about it. And the last one is in the future, when we're doing subsequent research, we want to have a simplified gaming design that we're focusing on more the elements we want to evaluate and analyze on, and just get rid of all the excessive contents. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and contact me at this email address, and have a wonderful day.